No, actually, I'm doing it online only here in Kerala. So work from home. So
Oh, nice. Nice.
maybe next month I have to move to Chennai.
Yeah, otherwise, also he works 12 to something, like very less working hours and lot of money.
No, not like that.
How do you know that, Sujit? Oh, wow.
I went there.
Sujit, I think Sujit always following me.
And we start.
Yes.
Okay, so we are live on Facebook. Welcome. Good evening, everyone, to 39th edition of NEET Talks. Welcome, Anirban.
Hi.
Yeah, we are running a Kolkata week, Bengal week. Okay, so I was telling Buddhadev last week that so we had a women week previously, right, Sujit? Three consecutive. Yeah. So anyway, jokes apart, we have a great artist today. Yeah, Buddha.
Hi everyone. Hi Satish.
You're telling something?
Hi Anirban. Hi. No. Okay. Please continue. We are waiting to see.
Yeah. Okay, so we have Anirban. He did his BFA and MFA from Vishwabharati University, Shantiniketan in 2006 and 2008 respectively. And after that, he has participated in quite a lot of solo and group exhibitions. And he's also received Pollock Kreisner Foundation grant in 2015, and also he is part of Glenfiddich residency in Scotland in 2009. Now he's settled, he's having his studio where from he is presenting still 27 kilometers away from Kolkata, a place, I think Hubli, right? He told a specific name. He will talk about that, the speciality of that place, which I think is juxtaposed between two colonial rules. Okay, he will talk about all those interesting stories and more about his art. Welcome, Anirban. The stage is yours.
Hi. So I'll begin. I'll open the slide. Share. Can you see me?
Slide sharing is not on. You can see you still.
Oh.
No problem. Arams, no issues. Take time.
Is it open now?
No. So what did you do? Like in computer, right? You are in computer, no? Yeah. Share and then select the file.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, no issues. Take your time.
Where is the share button?
Share below that green button in that below menu. Are you able to see?
Wait a minute.
Yeah, you can see after chat, between chat and record, that below in that menu.
When you touch the screen, you will see that. When you touch the screen, you will see that mute, stop video, security and all. Yeah.
Now can you see? Yeah.
Yes, here we go.
I'll start with this slide. This is about.
You can get into slideshow mode. From the top, you can tell that slideshow from beginning. You can put, yeah.
Is it okay now?
Yeah.
Yes, perfect.
High tide, low tide, tide everywhere. Actually, this is my master's painting. I did it during my master's, and I was actually looking at different genres of painting. At that time, I was experimenting with different genres of painting, like expressionistic mode of painting and the pop, the printed media, the printed image on local cheap materials like the tight packet, commercial packets and all these things. So at that time, I had a tendency of working in different languages together within one painting. And my teacher was Shanchan Ghosh from Shantiniketan, and he actually helped me to build up this language where you can juxtapose different languages together and build up narratives which would contradict, conflict, and tell narratives in a and he told me that these things are actually a postmodern language where you mix up different languages together to build up your narrative. And I was doing my dissertation after that, and I came to know about different postmodern terms and languages, and from there I picked up. And at that time my inspiration was obviously Atul Dodia and his shutter paintings, and his at that time he was having a solo show in Kemold and Vadera, and there the Shaptapadi series and all that, they were being shown, and I was very influenced by that. And later I started with that, and then this is the painting that I did with my grandmother. My grandmother was the central character over here. She is in the left hand corner, and she was having a sari, which was very interesting for me, that the sari was hand-woven, hand-loom sari, which had both paisley motif, traditional paisley motif, as well as the Mickey Mouse, hand woven in the same loom. So juxtaposing two different images to within the society, it was over there, in the society, in the form of a sari or in the form of a poster or whatever. There is always there, and I actually picked up all these contradictory, conflicting things. Where, so here you can see the pallu, the free-flowing green and blue sari, and actually exaggerated them, and the tight packet where the tight advertisement was saying that, you know, if you want to be a good housewife, you have to clean your clothes and to receive and to have a good husband. You have to live up to that. The advertisement actually molds you in that, like you have to clean it, you have to rinse it, you have to squeeze it. So I picked up all these Scotch Brite and Tide advertisement and juxtaposing them with the sari and all. It all started from that, and actually I don't plan my painting. It naturally starts with that, and slowly I build up, and they are not actually pre-planned. I start from one corner of a painting, like over here. I started with my grandmother's portrait and the full figure, and then it led to the other end corner where my cousin, with a shooter kind of a thing, he was at that time a child, and and he was playing with Pokemon and all those cartoon characters. So in a playful way, he was interacting with my grandmother in an evening, and he was shooting, my grandmother was playing, and it was an interactive way. And I thought that these two things would contradict and conflict in a certain way. And he, my cousin brother in the corner is actually a Brahmin, and you have that ceremonial thread ceremony over there, and I picked up all these images which are actually from his life, like the Pokemon playing. He was playing the Pokemon at the same time he was a Brahmin, and I used those invitation cards that he was having for the ceremony. Brahmin ceremony, you have the sacred thread ceremony, and these things I pick up and arrange in a certain way to build up a narrative. And this is the sari, the black and white sari that I was referring to, the paisley motif and the Mickey Mouse are together. And I keep build up an archive of all those images. I keep a record, and my blog, I've got a blog, and it's a detailed one. You can go through it. And these things were there, like the Nagin picture. It says Ashiteche in Bengali, as if it's coming. So you have different images of woman, how the popular culture addresses woman. Either it's form of a snake, which has a slight sexual connotation within it, and then you have the grandmother type, then you have the housewife type, and then you have the adhunik stove. There's a red stove over there, kerosene stove. And these I collected from my family usage and all these things. So the lower one is the stove, adhunik stove, and the other one is the Nagin poster from Shantiniketan. And I collected all these things from either from my home or from the dustbin. I actually look up throughout the dustbin areas where they throw these plastic wrappers and all, and I collect them, and they're very interesting for me. And this is another one I like in Shantiniketan fairs. It's a village area, and during the fairs you have freak shows which shows that the woman as a spider woman, and they have posters printed, vinyl posters printed in the fairs. And in the back of the mind, I was thinking of Louis Bourgeois' Mama, I mean the spider woman, the spider as a mother. And these things were, I was juxtaposing and thinking of how to build up a narrative, how to look at a woman, or what the woman is how a woman is looked at in a society. And there is in the below corner, there is a comic strip version of Mahabharat, which says, it's in Bengali, I've written of it, like it says that after marriage, Draupadi is brought in the home, and the Pandavas says to their mother that we have brought open the door, we want to show you, we have brought a gift. The mother says that divide it among the 5. So it's an object. I mean, these things actually haunted me throughout my childhood life. These particular things, like the comic strip from the Mahabharata, or these particular things. And I actually went back to my childhood days and brought those particular comics which I have born with and brought up with. And these are actually the images which I'm using it to build up a painting. So next one, we moved to this area north of Calcutta, and over here my mother was very, I mean, she would be very freaking over that there should be no pests in the house. No pests, like no insects should enter, and she was bragging my father that we should make a house so that no cockroaches or whatever, it shouldn't enter, and you have to do certain things. So it all began from there, like the Mr. Muscle ad was coming from that time in TV, and at that time I started collecting the Mr. Muscle ad clippings, and from there it started Mr. Muscle's gift to a housewife. Over here it's my mom, obviously, but she's not over here. The image is not there. But if you look at the bottom part, the lower portion of the painting, is like a threshold. At that time, before that, I was in Baroda. I stayed there for 2 months over there, and there was a poster over there which says that if you want to keep away pests, it was a pesticide company, and they would come to your home and how to eradicate pigeons or insects or whatever. And so I picked up all those posters, and the lower portion is Ravana. The lower portion, Ravana entering, as if that's the threshold, and Lakshman Rekha, there's a chalk-like thing which is available in the market over here, and that's the Lakshman Rekha. They say if you apply it, insects won't come inside the house. So the Lakshman Rekha is there as Ravana, as if he's entering the household where Sita is waiting inside, and there juxtapose different things like the puppy house, and you have different images from the I was collecting all those cheaply available rat kill powder that is available on the streets. Those how to kill a rat, how to kill insects or whatever. And this top portion was in the center is Mr. Muscle, and just on the right side, my hand corner above it, there's also a text from a comic strip character version of Ramayana, which says that Lakshman bollo er baire jeo na. Lakshman said, don't go outside this Lakshman Rekha. So again, it's an addressing who is inside the house, who is saying not to go outside the house. So these things actually haunted me, and I went back, as I told earlier. So there are different juxtaposing of, there's a medallion on the left side of a man, and it's also poison company, where you can poison the bugs and all these things. And on the top, there is a kettle. I was thinking about the posters, locally available poster language of the poster, gods with the hands, different hands. And at the same time, I was looking at Louis Bourgeois' Femi Mansion, where the home, the female body is identified as a home or a house, and human figures of, I mean, the hands and the heads are as if the female body is a home or something like that. And I derived that image from Louis Bourgeois' Femi Mansion, and that was at the back of my mind. And these are the ads. I downloaded it from the internet or somewhere, and these are the locally available. Actually, I look for those advertisements and posters which are for the suburbs, not for a metropolitan. You won't find these things in a metropolitan city, because they are specifically for the low income group. And over here, this is not Calcutta. This is not Calcutta. Over here, people stay because they can't afford to live in Calcutta, and they stay over here. They go on a Delhi passenger trains and travel, go to Calcutta and work and come back. So it takes around, from here to Howrah, it takes around 45 minutes on train, local trains. So that is important for me, because I'm not staying in a metropolitan city, and I should, because these things are not being addressed fully, I think, in this part of India. No one is actually working with them, because I don't know why, but I found it very interesting to address the suburban culture, which is not the urban metropolitan way of. This is the lower portion where Ravana is standing and the insects are there. The red line is as if the threshold, and the puppy house is there. I was thinking of Rapunzel. Rapunzel is within the castle, and someone would come as if the home is a secure place, or the home is a refuge, or Rapunzel is within the house. A hero will come and escape, and she will be able to escape with him, or it's like a Sita's hut, where the outsider is a Ravana, who is a predator. So these
Anirban, there is a question from Shanti. She's asking, your works are somehow reminiscent of Kerala murals. Was there some connection?
Very much interested. Actually, room tech, these Tibetan Tangka paintings and all, I was very much interested in, especially Ajanta murals and Kerala murals, obviously, Ajanta murals, and these are very interesting for me. I actually traveled to, during my Kochi visit in the Biennale, which I traveled and actually looked at them, and really interests me, and especially the Rumtek Monastery Buddhist murals over there. They're really interesting. I find it very, you should work with it somehow, and one day I will use the language of the mural to do some larger works or something like that. So these are the prints that I looked through, and these are the Kolkata woodcut prints that are available, and these are actually satires. On the left is the satire of how a man, after marrying a woman, chains his mother with a rope and keeps his lover on her back. So during those 18th century woodcut prints, these were very popular within the common people, and people used to buy these cheap prints, woodcut prints. And this is a contemporary children's poster on the right. Playing with these images, playing with juxtaposing different motifs and all these things together. It's mainly a collage aesthetics, where collaging different languages together to build up a narrative. This is the lower right, is the actual comics version of Ramayana, Bengali Ramayana, which every child actually goes through. We are born and brought up with this particular comic version, and I went to the old book stores and all, and found out those actual books that I actually read, and I was using them later. And this painting is about when we shifted to in this area. My father was very much interested in gardening. We in Calcutta, in our home, we had a rented place and we couldn't do gardening, and that was the main criteria. We now have a garden on backside and front side, both sides, and my father actually prefers all these things. And later, I also, throughout my childhood, I used to do a little bit of gardening and all. And after coming over here, I actually started gardening, cultivating these brinjals and small-scale kitchen garden types of things. And at that time, I came to know about Farmville. Farmville was very popular by then, and in Facebook, it was very popular at that time. And there was an article in Bengali about it, that you can actually grow vegetables in the cyber-generated space. And so I started this painting. I usually collect my images, build up. I have folders where for a particular painting, I write down notes, even 2 or 3 years before I started, and build up an archive of images. I thought that, oh, this can be a very good painting. I actually started playing Farmville and taking screenshots of those farms I was actually doing in the cyber space, in the game. Took the screenshots, and as well as these brinjals and chilies are actually the plants I grew in my garden. It took 3 years to do this to come up to this painting, because I want to experience the gardening in real life, as well as to understand what is the difference between a real garden, real space, and the juxtaposing the cyber-generated space with the real space, so that you build up a narrative on food, politics, on how to grow food and what to grow food, and whatever. The central character is me, with the turban on top, and I took the languages from the gods and goddesses posters and all. And on the extreme left and right, you can see demon-like figures. These are also freak shows posters in Shantiniketan, where a central character was there, where he would come to the stage and would eat vegetables and live chicken, goat, and full banyan trees and all. These are actually, you have to pay a ticket and enter and see the show. So I had an archive of these images. I actually went to these freak shows, saw those things, and later, after 2 or 3 years, I thought that I could use them in the painting, and I brought them back. And I was a science student before joining the art college. I was a science student, zoology. I was studying zoology honors, and from there I could recollect what kind of insecticides and pesticides and what kind of what kind of disease the trees would have, what kind of disease the plants would have. And actually I went to the pesticide store and collected those insecticides, pesticides, and antifungus powder, got down those packets, collected them, and built down the repertoire. And these chili plants that you are seeing and the brinjal over there, these are actual plants that I grew, and I did as if they are portraits. They are not just any plant, but they are actually portraits of the real plant that I had planted and used them in the painting. And these are the local diversity is a systemic fungicide. So I collected these things, and I was using like the chakra of Krishna, the image over there. And this is a freak show image. And the lower figure parts, the hungry figure types, skeletal figure types, those are actually quotations from Somnath's Famine. So I was juxtaposing great artists' works as well as these posters and the real things and all. And in Shantiniketan, there is a festival which happens, which it's a Holocaustian festival, where it's in the agricultural department. Tagore actually, at that time, he was the only person from Bengal who sent his son to the Americas and told him that you don't have to be a doctor or barrister, you go to the Institute of Agriculture and study agriculture and set up. He later came back to Shantiniketan and built the agricultural department over here, in Shantiniketan. And there is a festival which happens every monsoon. It's called Holocaustian Festival. It's the beginning of, this is the image on the left, right, sorry, the right corner, black and white, that's the mural of the painting by Nandlal Bose. Is the Holocaustian Festival, where Tagore actually, it still happens like that. The VC or at that time Tagore, he uses the plow and the bullocks are there, and the designs, the column type designs are drawn on the floor, and these things actually happen. So in Farmville, it's the same thing. Like he was addressing agriculture and all these things, and I thought I would use them reverse in my painting, where it's like a poster of Tagore, not the painted version of Tagore portrait, but local poster type characters which you find on the local market, Tagore calendars or Tagore posters and all. And I appropriated the Nandlal Bose mural and used it in the painting. And at that time, I was also watching Travel Channel's Man vs. Food, the program that used to happen earlier, where a man would come and enter a competition type of a food devouring festival. And it was a program, and juxtaposing images and building up a narrative out of it. This is the rust of wheat disease that actually happens to wheat and all. This painting also starts with my mom, who was during our stay in Calcutta. There was an acute shortage of water. Water was in great crisis, and my mother used to say that we should have enough amount of water in the house so that there is 24 hours water and flow of water should be good, the pump should be good. And after we came over here in this house, so I was thinking about it, how to address this. And this painting also started with that. I actually watch a lot of Doraemon and all these cartoon things, and I started with this old photograph. This is my grandmother. She's no more now. This photograph was taken around 1945 or 44, somewhere. at that time. She posed with her sister over here, and at that it's what usual practice to address woman as the who brings the water for the family. About the storage, a woman should think about the sufficient amount of water that is stored in the family. So this is how popular culture addresses woman or sees woman, loves to see woman. So I thought I'll do with it. So I dug up this painting and old photograph of my grandmother from her, and then I used it in this painting. And Doraemon always says, you need a new gadget, I'll solve it. I'll bring it out from my pocket and let's do it. And then you have null, and now for the tap, how the Hindi, I mean the alphabet children's books addresses nal mein pani bahta sabke ghar mein rehta. Ghar, the word ghar, pani, bahta, and how woman is actually fabricated within that, and the snake goddess. And in in middle class Bengali families, they actually, they travel, go for travels and all, and they will always carry a bottle of geolin. This geol, they are absolutely freak. They will freak about the purity of water, and they will think that the water is contaminated somehow. They'll get some disease, and they always keep. My mother would say that you should always keep a geolin bottle while you travel, so that you can put it. Earlier, this was a convention, and so I was digging up all these small sensibilities, little things that my mother used to say, or grandmother used to say, or whoever used to say, and I went to the store, bought a packet of geolin, and I used it as if to say that you purify it, do it accordingly. And this is Doraemon, as if the Doraemon, the pump actually comes out of the pocket of Doraemon. The pump actually is the pump of a house, Tulu pump, which we actually use it still now. And I developed it by looking at those cheaply available wrappers of taps you have in the market from the hardware store, and I collected those those printed images of taps and all, how they show it, how they paint it, and did this painting. And the image of Wonder Woman, but changed those hands. I changed those hands with this image on the right side. This is actually a cropped image. Those hands were there, and I cropped it with as if the Indian version of Wonder Woman with Tumka Baoge. Tumka Baoge is a very popular line which is painted on trucks and all, because these truck drivers actually travel without their beloved, without their wife, and there's on the trucks there is always a figure of a woman weeping under a tree, and weeping, and written on it like Tumka Baoge. So these things are really interesting, and I edit, change little bit, creating different languages. And later on, this is also this painting. This portion is from the, I've over here used the Ajanta type mural kind of a figure, Ajanta type mural kind of a figure, because in Shantiniketan over here, the revival of Ajanta type murals started, where Nandlal Bose and his team went to Ajanta and they copied the murals, came back, and that got into the tradition of West Bengal art somehow. And these things are interwoven within the art historical thing. And later the drawing underneath is from Tagore's. There's a play, Tagore's play Chandalika. Chandalika addresses caste and gender issues. This female figure was Sudra, Sudra Dalit, you say, Dalit, and she was a Chandal, Chandal's daughter, the daughter whose they burned the body, cremation ground. They stay on the cremation ground, and it was not at all advisable for them to touch a Brahmin or some high class. You can't feed water. So the play addresses the issues, caste issues, gender issues, and I use this image of Chandalika, written by Tagore, painted by Nandlal Bose, and a little bit appropriated it and kept that art historical background, that this was actually this Ajanta type, Ajanta language actually contributed in making the Bengal master's language, and somehow they are fabricated within the system.
We have also the Chandala Bhikshigi, like the same story in Malayalam. We call Chandala Bhikshigi.
Maybe it was appropriate.
Is it?
Yeah, Tagore actually took up these things. This was a bhikshu. This was a bhikshu, a Buddhist bhikshu, and these things. So I was addressing water at that time.
Yeah.
And this, since I was born and brought up in Kolkata, and I was in a Christian school built by the British, and so I always thought about the colonial power, and my school was very much close to Victoria Memorial Hall in Calcutta. And as a young child, and family members always used to visit on holidays and things like that in a museum kind of thing. And later there was a show in over there of Kalighat paintings. Those Kalighat paintings were actually brought from Victoria and Albert Museum in London. These things are not over here. They were brought back from their colonial masters, colonial museum, presented here as if it's a Bengali culture, and built in a colonial structure, shown in a white cube space. And I was, at that time, while visiting this show, I thought, okay, I can work with it. So I went down to their website, studied the actual monument, all those sculptures over there in the Victoria Memorial Hall, those mother figures and all. And I started this painting, collected all the materials, and I started this painting. These three viceroys. One was on the blue one is Benting, who was, sorry, the blue one was Curzon, Lord Curzon, who was responsible for the divide and rule of Bengal. Divide and rule of Bengal later. That's why Bangladesh was formed later. And the central one was Benting, who was responsible for abolition of the sati, burning of the widow woman. And this one was Clive. So I was thinking about what they did and how they have been presented in the Victoria Memorial Hall. This hall was totally funded by the kings of India, not funded by the Britishers. These were actually funded by the kings of Baroda, kings of other places, Jaipur and all these things. They were contributing and trying to project Victoria as the mother who would take care of things. And there are actual outside in the open air, there are sculptures of feminine relief, as if I'll show you. This is the Curzon figure that I did, and there are feminine relief sculptures. At that time, bronze sculptures were propaganda tools, and they are shown with as if they are giving feminine relief, during the Bengal famine. This was actually false. They were responsible for the Bengal famine and all, and on the contrary, they were erecting all these sculptures around Victoria Memorial. And I was thinking about it and how I was juxtaposing these Kalighat paintings with them, like the Hanuman and the Ravana. Who is the insider? Who is the outsider? I was thinking about it. Like he and Ravana is the insider of Lanka, or he went there as an outsider, burnt it down. And all these things I was layering and juxtaposing it in subtle ways. Like this is the famine relief sculpture. And there are different other things also, like I collect the popular stuffs and all printed materials. This is a thread company I recently found before starting the painting, where there's a train, the colorful one, a train, and a thread. You know, the train itself, they wanted to put the Britishers, they build it up for economical purposes and the textile industry, and still now this motif is a recent one, and I found it in a bazaar, and how the textile industry and the motif of the train got intermingled, and on the right side, this relief sculpture is the muse of the train, science, the muse of science, like science and technology. They were showing that the lady with the train. And so I was using all these things. This is painting. And at the lower level, at the bottom, you have Narasimha avatar of Kalighat. Narasimha killed the Asura on the threshold, as if it's on the threshold. I was thinking about the threshold and all these things, and juxtapose it with different things. The Huggies pant and this mother figure. There are lots of mother figures on Victoria Memorial, and I was thinking of the mother, suckling mother. And this was actually a propaganda kind of a thing, where you question the iconography, you question, there's Putana Rakshasa, and just below the feet of the baby, you have Putana juxtaposed, and you have Britishers in jail, how they are torturing a criminal and all these things from the Kalighat paintings. And in Bengali homes, you typically nowadays have these kind of Santhal portraits of paper mache crafts. They collect all these Santhal as if they are trophies, you know, as if they are trophies collected from the Santhals, and they display it in the family, in the drawing room. They keep figures of Santhals as if they are hunters and gatherers with feather crowns and all these things. So I was actually questioning this. This is actually my auntie's room. My auntie and aunt, uncle, and their room, they have decorated the room with these motifs. And I think it's still the same mentality which runs within the psyche of who is colonizing whom, who is colonizing the other, the Santhals, the higher class, the middle class, and the earlier, the Britishers and the Indian. So I was building up all I usually study a lot in my relatives' room, family and all, how they display these toys of Santhals and other things, which actually tells a lot of things. So this was another viceroy. This is the place where I stay. Nearby, there's a electric, a small scale industry kind of a thing in Chandanagar. Chandanagar was the French colony. Now over there, with the help of electric bulbs and all over throughout, I think 30 or 40 years history. They are actually doing a very good small scale kind of a cottage industry where you build up LED lights with decorations and all for Durga Pujas and pandals and all these things. And I was looking at them, and I collect all these images and these things. I was using all these things, and this painting actually started from a freak show in Shantiniketan where the freak show showed, it was a magic show actually. The man, it was Anil Kapoor. Anil Kapoor's poster. Anil Kapoor would touch Sri Devi with a tube light, and the tube light would glow. That was the magic. And I actually saw the magic. A man was there and a little girl. And so it sparked like, okay, bulb ka jalna. That a painting would evolve out of it. And I started collecting light, how light is addressed in the popular culture. And I studied all these things. In between, there's a Durga figure over there. That's Subodh Gupta's sculpture, earlier sculpture. It was white, the central character. I mean, there's a Durga kind of figure. It was an early Subodh Gupta fiberglass sculpture in white. You can go through it. And I usually play with different online games. I actually play. And there are city builds games where you can build cities. And over there, it says you ask your friends for batteries. You ask your friend for batteries, they will give you as a reward. You can get more energy out of it, and that's the upper portion, upper part. You can get, you can see there's a this written, get more energies, you are out of it. As if the energy, how they are seeing batteries, how the batteries are seen, and light, woman, man, woman relationship, how they are seen. On truck paintings, you have images of lit candles, and as if the woman is melting down. There are figures also over there. And I went back to how there's an Arvind Gupta toy kind of a thing, and you can actually see how electricity can be made with inserting copper and zinc strips and light LED bulbs. This painting actually started, I'll show a little bit. There's a character, when we were children, we always saw graffitis on walls in Calcutta, black graffitis, and they would say that the earth is still and the sun revolves around the moon. And there were lots of graffitis on the wall. And it was this man was responsible, K.C. Paul. And you can, there's a Wikipedia, you can look. A very interesting character, he's still alive, but he's not active nowadays. You don't find those graffitis on the wall nowadays. And it's very neat kind of a graffiti where he would explain how things are done, and those, like we study in geography. When we were students, we saw that how it would revolve, rotation, revolution of the sun and the moon. And he would say, no, this is wrong. We have sent it to NASA. They have replied, and there are lots. He would do graffitis on the walls and street lights, and those pillars and all. And there were a lot. He would sell and distribute leaflets. And I started with this painting, and I thought that would be very interesting. And
the same, there is a man in my district. He always say this, the same thing. So he also give pamphlets like about this, his theory and all.
yeah,
He did a indefinite this thing, what you call hunger strike once, and then collector came and say that the earth is, like his claim is like earth is flat. So at last he gave this thing. collector came and said that, yeah, Earth is flat, you go and have some food. Yeah.
So actually, this character is very interesting. That those graffitis are very, very, very beautiful. Beautifully done on the wall with black colors and white, as if they are on chalk.
What's his name?
Casey Paul.
Casey Paul.
Casey Paul, and he's a bit old now. And I started with this image. And
What was his intent? Why was he doing it? What was his intent? Why was he doing it?
He's right. I mean, he would say about the stars and all, the pole star and all these things. There's a documentary on him.
Oh.
And yeah, there's someone is documenting him saying all these things, and there are elaborate drawings on black grounds, and those are really beautiful. I was very interested throughout my childhood. I've seen on the streets and all.
The person I was saying, I was mentioning, he also carry a book full of diagrams and all. So he come and ask you, first question he'll ask you, and I'm studying in college, like in College of Thrissur, Chittoor Government College. So he come and ask in geography department mostly. He will come and ask, is it the Bhumi, the Earth is round or flat? Then we may say no, like round. Then he'll take you to somewhere and he'll explain it with the diagrams and all. So it's the same as.
Yeah, this man also travels to book fairs in Calcutta and all, distributes all this. So I started with that. Let me address it in a certain way in this painting, and I started with the central character. With the drawings, you can see those in red color, those drawings. I copied it from there's a website and Wikipedia page where those drawings are there. I copied those things and went back to my, I went back to my geography books. I still have them, school books. I dug them out and thought about it, and it was revisiting childhood, basically. And these things happen. And in my area, there are sit and draw competitions. And there are posters. This is a poster, pink poster of not only a sit and draw competition, as well as show on muscle man. I mean, you have to show your building up of the muscles. So these things would happen within one platform. And this was printed on a poster. And I thought this is very interesting, the palette and the colors, the image of the palette and the colors and the brush stuck on them along with the Mr. Muscle kind of a thing where you display your muscle. The whole notion of the palette, paint, and the muscle, the power of art, the muscle. Those who want to show their muscle in the art world or whatever, the underlying things. And I was playing, playing at the time Candy Crush Saga. There's a game, Candy Crush Saga, and Bengalis are very keen on eating sweets. And so I thought, oh, I can work with it. So this is very interesting. I downloaded the images of Candy Crush Saga and juxtaposed it. So within the muscles, I was wearing this Candy Crush Saga, those sweets and all, those confectioners and little lozenges and all these things. So, and I was building up all these things, and there you have those. Below figure is the portrait of an astrologer kind of thing who claims that I know the world, I know the cosmos, I can control the world through my stones on my rings. This is topaz, this is ruby, I can control this planet, that planet, I can control this. So I was juxtaposing this point of an astrologer, the astronomer, this self-proclaimed scientist, and building up a narrative out of it. And in Bengal, there is a very trend of using Jamini Roy paintings. in every advertisements. And this is very popular. I mean, when we were children, this actually happened. Like every woman wear a sari with a painted Jamini Roy on it. And this was quite easy to do. And suddenly people started using the image of Jamini Roy to show Bengali identity, as if they were synonymous. Bengali identity and Bengal carnival. This ad was in Shantiniketan during the Posh Mela. It's an ad of Clinic Plus, shampoo ad. And they were addressing the Bengali psyche, like Bengal carnival. It's written Bengal carnival. You have bowls and all, and they were connecting like the customers are Bengali. It's in Shantiniketan, so Posh Mela is there, and Bengal Carnival, so Jamini Roy and Baul, and these things happen very frequently to build up a false psychology, a sentimental kind of a thing, like identity, like I'm a Bengali, I'm a Baul kind of a thing, which most of them are not, don't even understand it. So questioning these ideologies, these notions, questioning, juxtaposing them to question, is it the true thing? Is it the real thing, or is it your a social satire kind of thing? And later I'm doing a series of painting nowadays, 3 paintings in my area. Nowadays I've studied 3 science exhibitions. In this, it's a suburb where I stay. And these areas where, when we were children, there were lots of jungles, lots of trees were there, small, and there were lots of animals. Like even today, you have mongoose running on the streets in broad daylight, mongoose and lots of animals like wild cat kind of a thing, Chevrolet kind of a thing, which comes out. And the government is actually trying to build up a consciousness. This was an exhibition held by the Vigyan Manch, the science organization of West Bengal, where they are trying to promote that snakes are not always harmful. And actually people kill snakes a lot. And near my area where my house is, we have 5 ponds around it. 5 large ponds where fishery happens on a commercial scale. So we are quite accustomed to see snakes over here, and nothing actually happens, and people kill them. So the government is trying to do a conscious program on them, on science exhibition. And snakes, they were trying to show that snakes are not harmful. These are harmful, these are not harmful. Most of them are not harmful. And I'm studying these science exhibitions. And in my area, these are the preliminary drawings. This is not complete work. These 3 paintings that I'll show, I'm working on them on science exhibitions. And these areas are very active. In school, you have science exhibitions. During the Saraswati Puja, next month is Saraswati Puja, and every school will have a science exhibition. Because, in the schools over here mostly have a colonial history. Either they were built by Bengalis who were under direct English. They were studying in England, they came back over here and started school, and they were very much influenced by the Enlightenment, where science was glorified. It was told that science is important, science will help you in your life, science will. This is the, we have to shed all the traditional things and look for science. Science is the real goal. And I'm very much disturbed by, throughout my childhood, I've been told that you should study science and be a doctor or an engineer because that would pay. And that's the main underlying thing still happen. It's the main thing within the society. Parents would say that study science and all, that would bring up money and all. So it's not always a positive thing. and I'm working with it. These are the first layers of paint. Actually, I've changed a lot in painting. During a show in Chhatrapati Shivaji, I think, in Mumbai, there was a show of Rubens' Flemish masters during 2014 and all. Since I've not traveled abroad, that was the first time I saw paintings by European masters, and I thought that since this science thing came from abroad, it was during the colonization period that the Britishers brought over here, planted it in a certain way, for a good reason or bad reason, whatever it is. But so I should paint in a certain kind of a European kind of a way, where there would be gray layer on top. There would be, earlier I used to do one layer painting where you have definite colors on one layer, you would complete the painting. Later I thought, why not, if I'm doing a science exhibition paintings, why not I would use the language of, say, Tintoretto and all those, who were actually using the grisel layer, the glazing method, the body color. And I studied all those things throughout the internet, and how can I use them in acrylic colors, not in oil and all. So actually I was bored with earlier kind of a painting where you have a single layer color, single layer painting. And I changed all that. I said, no, that's enough. And this is the way I'm working now. This painting this is a 3 months back image. I couldn't photograph it now because it's cloudy over here in winter, not enough sun. So this is the painting, 16 feet, one painting on the floor. And this is the science exhibition snake painting that I'm doing. And there was another science exhibition train special that they were traveling around, and I studied them. It was happening for certain 2 or 3 years back, it happened. And they were showing us how science would help in the train, in coaches of train. They were doing these exhibitions, Government of India exhibitions. And this is another painting. I was thinking of science, how science addresses the middle class, how they are looking at science and all these things. This is a work in progress paintings. These are the inside photos. And I actually arrange, what I actually do is I arrange these small motifs. I'm doing all these like toys. While doing it, I was studying the rhizome theory, where the rhizome theory, you can go through the Wikipedia, where like rhizome theory states that a tree with one trunk, that's a certain European kind of a thing, one trunk and the tree up one top, the center where the nutrients are taken out goes to the trunk and goes to the top. But in the Indian context, they say the metaphor is the banyan tree, where you have not one root, but different roots, the supporting system, where if one root gets chopped off, it doesn't matter. So the metaphor, what they use is the rhizome. I mean, the rhizome is either ginger or turmeric, that how it extends. It penetrates from one rhizome, another is created, and these networks. And this is a painting, and in the top and in the corner, down corner, these kind of exhibitions are there in the Dutch colony, which I say there's a William Carey College. William Carey was responsible for building the first Danish college built by the King of Denmark here. and it's still there, and it's a heritage site, and it's a very active place. And every year they do these elaborate science exhibitions. And I went there, and this is 2 years back, I think. Last year they also did, and they're very beautifully done science exhibition models, where model e-waste, how to dispose e-waste, how they are dangerous and all these things. They are shown, and I'm juxtaposing it and building up a narrative out of it, and I'll juxtapose them with advertisements of, the JEE joint entrance exam advertisements, which says that come to our coaching classes for science streams, come to our coaching classes, we'll make you doctors or engineers, and people fall prey into it. Actually, I also went through this trauma. My father used to invest a lot of money to these tuitions and all, and I was disgusted. I said no. And now is the revenge. And these paintings are revenge paintings. Then this is from the French colony. French colony. There's a school of Sri Aurobindo. You must have known Sri Aurobindo, freedom fighter, and it's named after him. And these things actually happen every year throughout. It's not particular of this school, but the science exhibitions juxtapose. The foundation is the Saraswati Puja. And in Bengal, two pujas are very modern and important. One is the Vishwakarma Puja. Vishwakarma Puja, because during the British time, industries were set, industrialization, and the Britishers saw that the Indian workers couldn't understand what is a machine. They wouldn't venerate the machines. They wouldn't clean the machines. So these Bengali Babus and these Britishers, they developed a strategy. They devised Vishwakarma Puja on 17th September. And this happens. And this Vishwakarma is not the Vishwakarma image of North India. This Vishwakarma image is very young, like a Kartik, Murugan kind of a thing. And young man, and he has a halo around his head with a wheel, a machine wheel. You have machine wheel, and within the wheel there's a poster, popular poster, and within the wheels there are machine parts. And once this puja started, every small industry or whatever small or big the industries are, they would clean the machines, they would do pujas of the machines, and that was a fantastic thing. And this Saraswati Puja is also very important, because this Saraswati Puja has nothing much to do with in the Brahmanical sense. This all started in schools. In every school you have, and this is more of a cultural thing. And this all started in the 60s when the middle class actually understood that if you study hard, you can get Lakshmi. And this is where the Bengali middle class started doing the Saraswati Puja. And within this context, these schools, government schools, they do the puja, and picnics happen, science exhibitions happen. And I'm thinking of all these layers of meaning from all these layers that I told you. And these are the atomic, they are building up, they'll give instructions to visitors what happens, how a nuclear plant is built up and all. And you build up layers with it. These are the images, Nikola Tesla's globe. How a small child I went there, and Nikola, he was explaining what is Nikola Tesla's globe and electricity and how it would spark. And this thing, and there was a very interesting thing, like the GST was happening at the time. lady introduced me how the GST, what is the GST at that time. This is 3 years back, I think. What is the structure and every detail, and I did the painting on it. This is not a finished photo. I worked on it. This painting is finished, and how science objects are made. These are so this is the thing that I'm doing.
Again, Anirban. Was amazing. Your presentation and the way you speak.
Great presentation, Anirban. Well done, on time, to the point.
Yeah.
So floor is open to the questions.
Can I go first? Hi, Anirban. I want to say hello to you.
Hi.
I'm Nanda Kumar. Long ago.
Yeah.
We all.
You remember you came to school?
Yes.
Your voice is breaking.
Really.
Your voice is breaking.
Thank you about it. Yeah. Excellent, enjoy. But you asked about nice. I really like last painting. I really like too.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
No.
The voice was breaking.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Can you tell again? Your voice was breaking. Only we heard the last sentence.
Nothing is.
Okay.
So Anirban, how much this Mexican mural influence in your work, like this Clemente also?
I'm very much influenced, Ali. I mean, somehow, of course, they are there.
Yeah, because the last painting, especially the industrialization and all, like the
I look,
main,
I really like, and very much influenced by Sudhir Patwardhan.
okay.
And I mean, actually, this kind of painting evolved when I saw the Hindi Bhavan mural.
Okay.
Hindi Bhavan mural,
Vinod Bihari.
yeah, Hindi Bhavan mural, Vinod Bihari, and that was a fascinating thing. Like he stayed there for 7 years, but at initial years, we hardly knew. Actually, who taught us was Shiv Kumar. And when he taught us in a certain way, and that was an eye-opener. And not only that, like I'm very much influenced by Abanindranath's Arabian Nights painting, and the way Shiv Kumar has written about them.
Okay.
Shiv Kumar has written
Yeah, I am.
the book they have. And how to build up a narrative, how to do a narrate intertextuality, how to use it, how to reverse the narrative, how to tell the story, how to use an image. That thing, it acts as a spark when I read Shiv Kumar's interpretation of Abanindranath's Arabian Nights. Before that, it was Ratan Parima. And that was not kind of a, because Arabian Nights was not shown in public till then.
Okay.
They have got a huge volume of painting which was hidden in Rabindra Bharati University, and Shiv Kumar's interpretation of them, and how he took classes on them, and how he showed us how he was using the text of Arabian Nights, and he was changing the narrative and to address the colonial times, to reverse the narrative, to bring the white man in portion, who is the colonizer, who is the colonized, and how he was inversing the narrative of the Greek man. I think the Greek man was turned into a Arab man, and the Arab man was turned into a Greek man, and he changed it in a certain way. And these things played into my subconscious in a certain way. And
so how do you like when you start a work? There are 2 or 3 major events in that and in the canvas, especially the early works, and also 1 or 2 protagonists sort of a figure, you know, like. So you decide them early, then before
yes,
you
before
enter
3
in.
to 5 years, I write down notes in my diary. I write down
Okay.
different points, and I build up a folder which contains images, archival images. This is important. Archival images, contradictory, conflicting archive of images taken from different kinds of things, different genres, different areas, from high art to low bro to Logia to Somnath to whatever, whatever suits whatever I want to say, and I keep them in a juxtaposition is a very important thing. Juxtaposing them in a certain way, and composition is very important, which I learned from Binod Bihari's Hindu Bhavan murals, and where to place and what to say. If I suppose the Victorian memorial paintings, the Narasimha is kept on the threshold. That's important, because if you want to kill the demon, you have to keep it on the threshold. And the lions, Narasimha is kept in from the Kalihat paintings. The lions are very interesting thing. The lions in a monument, they neither to belong to the inside nor outside. They are on the threshold of a building and they guard it. So who is the outsider? Who is the insider? And if a painting is responsible for abolition of sati, if that is very important, then who is the outsider and who is the insider? I don't want to give a message or something like that, but loosely arranged in a the composition is important. Very loosely arrange certain things in a certain way that they can be read in different ways. And I don't compose them like I usually start in the Victorian memorial painting. I started with the central figure, or in other paintings I don't stretch my canvas. I just open, say, one end, start with an image, and that would decide how that would roll, like in a scroll painting, but they have predetermined kind of a composition, kind of a thing, but I don't have. And these things actually somehow storytelling is important for me. Storytelling and how they are juxtaposed, how they are composed, and that I usually take it from Ajanta, say Ajanta. And during a child in college earlier days, Ajanta was taught in such a way, such an interesting way, in a portfolio there in Shantiniketan. You have a large portfolio published from, I think, the Nizams. The Nizams did the first portfolio of Ajantas, and that was very, and the teachers taught us in a certain way that it got within me. The narration, how to build up a narrative.
Okay, so that's the way.
I wanted to say it's really wonderful that you take a topic from a conversation and take it to mythology, take it to the comic, and across. I mean, bring it with so much richness of references. So I wanted to ask 2 things. One is the first 3 paintings that you showed seems to be connected with the kind of palette colors you used, and also in the way you painted. So were they the first paintings, and later on there is a change of, there is duller and more pastel colors in your later works?
Earlier, when I was a student and the earlier works, what what reference I was using in my head was backlit vinyls. Backlit vinyls, you get a feeling of backlit vinyls, as if there's light at the back of it, as if they have been printed in vinyl. And some areas are, roughly done. Some areas you can't get it from the pictures over here, but some areas are roughly done. Some areas are highly polished, as if they are backlit vinyls. And actually, we did a project with our teacher. It was a public art project, and I got it from him, the idea to use the metaphor of a backlit vinyl. And somehow I saw that, okay, I can use it, but the reference would be either Kerala mural or the Tibetan Tanka, and that kind of a thing. But the backlit kind of a thing would be a very modern thing. So I was actually appropriating these traditional things. One was the Kerala mural, Ajanta, and the Tibetan kind of a thing. So over there, I was doing that. And later on, now the science exhibition paintings, I use the European certain kind of a thing. European, not that strict grisaille and the glazing thing, but that kind of a thing where you build up a color scheme which is different from that. And these things keep on changing according to the narration. Like for this 3 paintings, I am always using the reference of Thomas Eakins paintings, and where you can see the doctors are dissecting the body. There are 2 paintings of Thomas Eakins, clinic of some doctor, 2 doctors, where there's a theater kind of a thing where the doctor is standing, and how the human body, the body is being dissected, or an operation is being done. I'm using those references like the anatomy lesson of Dr. from Rembrandt and all. So how artist painted scientist now is the reference. What I'm doing, how artists painted scientists and doctors, I'm using them as reference. And these paintings which I'm now doing, they actually show the future, say, scientists or the students, science students, or something like that. So loosely I build up this kind of a narrative out of cross-reference from different areas, and think how richly they can be done.
Obviously, your reference is very varied. So let's say that in painting where you use that Casey Paul, that painting, it seems to be about knowledge. Let's say he is putting forth a kind of knowledge which, like you have astrology. So are you saying there are knowledges which are no longer valid? Or are you just saying there are different kinds of knowledges? And one more thing, do you feel sometimes that, when we hear you talk, everything makes a lot of sense, but do you sometimes feel that, is it communicating? At what level do you feel your work would communicate without your words? Like, do you feel frustrated at times?
Yeah, obviously, these are very complex kind of narratives. These are very complex, and I usually look at them like, like novels, like chapters in a novels. And I usually construct them like 2 or 3. For 2 or 3 years, I'm doing 3 paintings only. So it takes a lot of time. And actually, I don't want to put a strict direct message like the science and all, restricting the narrative. I usually keep things open-ended so that people would read them differently. That would be very interesting, actually. If the politics of the artist is important, obviously that's important, but I think I should stay away from it because, I think things should be narrated in a flexible way where things will be interesting, not to put them in a box and say, this is right and this is wrong and this is left and this is right. Within the left and within the right, there are lots of shades of gray. So let the audience, viewer decide how to interpret. Actually, I build up a blog of mine which puts the reference in a particular way to show the making of a painting. Out of frustration, I did that because that's my paintings are difficult to read in a certain way. I can understand. For everyone, it's difficult because there are lots of layers in it.
Yes, your paintings do communicate that, it cannot be read simply or directly. Thank you so much. It was really very interesting to see your work. Looking forward to more works in the future. Yeah.
So, Anirban, as you are constantly talking about juxtaposition and about large story and communication, and also when we are talking about murals. So murals have a way of reading the mural. Like you start from this point and come to the other side kind of stuff. Then the story is complete. So now you also told it is very important for you to see where are you positioning a specific character or something. So how do you expect the people to read it? Like, are you happy if they read only one portion of it, or the whole painting you want to have some meaning when they see it, everything together, or is it a linear narrative, or what is your expectation?
I usually, what I do while reading a novel is I start from the middle. Or from the back, or say after 2 chapters. I find it very interesting, like first I read the middle, then you go back to chapter 4 and then you go back to this bombardment of narratives. And that is very interesting for me. I mean, they can enter differently, not a single perspective, not a linear kind of a thing, not a line kind of a thing you build up. And Avanindranath, during his last years, did a book. It's a scrapbook kind of a thing, where he, during his last days, this book was actually hidden. I mean, this was not published. It's called Khuddu Jatra. It's a Ramayana, a yatra. I mean, a theater kind of a thing, where he uses these juxtapositions. He used to cut newspaper magazines during this period, and advertisements from the nursery, or say plants, animals, and whatever, Sri Lanka dancers, South Indian dancers, and he narrated that Ramayana in such a way that actually this was published when I was doing my master's, and this book was published, and it was a flip kind of a book. You take out a page, you can actually take out a page if you open the flap. The flap is constructed out of a matchbox. If you open the matchbox, there are Sri Lankan dancers dancing, and the narration, the text says that in Sri Lanka, Ravana's court, someone is seeing dancing, and he is using Sri Lankan dancers, contemporary. He got some pictures out of some magazines, and he put it in that case, and you can flip it open and see when I found that book, and I thought, oh my God, he did in his times, and that's Eureka for me, and I can use it. So there are certain things like I enjoy, and these are the things.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think it's really nice that, while you use the word narrative, it's not really one narrative, nor is it a linear narrative. You can keep going back, discovering, and then make up your own narratives interrelating whatever you have been there and keep changing the stories. Actually, I would say it's like stories, not really narration. It's beautiful.
Okay, so unless there are more questions, there we end. Thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, thank you, Anirban, for this. Yeah, Gautam, yes.
Yeah. I just thank you, Natuda. So I am just used to call Anirban as Natuda because I've been seeing him from student life, college time, and I know how he came up to this stage and how he evolved his language of juxtaposition and making narratives out of different sources and informations and all things like that. So it is wonderful, like the way you are taking your journey and kind of bringing new things to your process. So wonderful. I have one question. Since your work has kind of a lot of information and kind of an education value, because there are a lot of things to learn from your painting. I personally learned a lot about, like when you are saying Vishwakarma painting, I didn't read it that way. So and the farm valley painting and the water, each painting has a lot of information and kind of education value. So do you think, like when you are painting, do you think like you are educating your kind of neighbors and surrounding people also with your painting, because it's a huge work and a lot of information, a lot of things there? And how do you feel like to respond to, because you're taking information from your surroundings, so do you think like to give back to them also certain way?
Not actually informing, but I think my painting are like, hypertext in internet. How do you use the internet? You click on the one link, that link will lead you to another link, and that link will lead to another kind of a knowledge, and that you link it to another kind of a knowledge, and there's a vast kind of a knowledge, and it depends on where you click the link. I mean, where you click your mouse and which direction it moves. And since we were the first generations in art college who started using the internet, and I think that way of looking at the internet for knowledge and my painting and how they are hypertext and the information gets channelized according to where I click my button. It shifts in different directions. You don't need for a linear narrative. You don't have to have a linear narrative, because we are the first generation, I think, who grew first, not, but anyway, the generation of artists who grew with the internet, with Wikipedia. But there are lots of knowledge, and I really sit on the computer and learn so many things from the internet. And I sit over here, I rarely go out of my house. Rarely go out of my house.
And no, that is that is clear. But I'm talking about those who are not able to click the mouse or access the internet. For them, are you like, do you feel responsible to them also, for them, or are they getting kind of educated with your painting?
I think I'm doing it for a wide cube space.
Okay.
I'm not showing in a public space, and I'm showing in a wide cube space. That's clear. Like I'm showing in a wide cube space, and wide cube space people who goes for, there's a particular kind of an audience, and they are not, and I'm not displaying it in a roadside or in a site specific kind of a way. So I'm not concerned about that, but for the time being, I'm not concerned about that, but maybe later it will evolve. I'm not sure.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Gautam. So I think with that, we will end, right? Okay. So next week is the 40th week of NEET Talks, and we have a special program.
Yeah.
Keep guessing. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you, Anirban.
Bye. Bye, Sujit. Bye, Satish.
Bye.
Bye, Anirban.
Yeah. See you all. Bye bye. Yeah.